Not last forever. Through this tour, we're going to learn about several different themes. We're going to have some extra free study materials for any of you available at the end of the tour if you're interested. But Babylon would not last forever. So let's go and do the quiz again. What would the world empires be down the line? What's the first one?
Babylon.
All right, what's the second one?
Persia.
What's the third one?
Greece.
The fourth one?
Rome.
And the last one?
Divided nations.
Oh, you're good. So what came after Babylon?
Persia.
Persia. Well, welcome to Persia. Right here in front of you is the Cyrus Cylinder. Well, actually, it's not the real Cyrus Cylinder. The real one is on tour in, of all places, the United States of America. But this is a replica of the Cyrus Cylinder, and for our purposes, serves to show us what it looked like and what it said. Now, Cyrus was the king of the Persians and the commander of the Persian armies. And on this cylinder, this is what he writes. He writes that he was able to take down the entire empire of Babylon without a battle in one night. Now that's a pretty arrogant claim, isn't it? We just saw on the Sennacherib cylinder how the king was able to kind of write his own spin of history. So how did this happen? Well, we have a little bit more insight how it happened in Daniel chapter 5. It talks about the king of Babylon was Belshazzar, and he decided to throw a huge party, or a huge feast. And they're partying hard, they're drinking, and they're dancing, and they're doing all these things. And just like often happens at parties, they're not making the best judgment decisions either. And so they're forgetting to pay attention to a few things. Meanwhile, Cyrus, with his Persian armies, are outside the city walls of Babylon. Now there was a river that ran right underneath the city of Babylon. That was to protect it from sieges, so that it would always have a constant water supply, so they could outlast anyone who tried to take over the city. Well, Cyrus and his armies, meanwhile, while they're partying inside, they take the water and they diverted the river off to the side. Then Cyrus with his armies marched into the riverbed, under the city wall, into the city, right into the palace, and bam, take the city and the empire of Babylon in one night without a battle. Pretty spectacular feat, I would say. If you're planning on visiting the National Gallery while you're here in London, Rembrandt has a beautiful rendition of Belshazzar's feast, and you don't want to miss that. Well, there's something else important that this cylinder says, the Cyrus Cylinder. He says that not only did he take Babylon without a battle in one night, but he also allowed all the exiles and slaves that have been accumulated, including those from Israel, he allowed them to return to their nations and to rebuild their homes and rebuild their temples. Well, fascinatingly, Cyrus had been mentioned by name in a prophecy in Isaiah for doing that exact same thing, in Isaiah 44 and 45. It says, "This is the Lord who says of Cyrus, he is my shepherd and will accomplish all that I please. He will say of Jerusalem, let it be rebuilt, and of the temple, let its foundations be laid. This is what the Lord says to his anointed, to Cyrus, whose right hand I take hold of, to subdue nations before him and to strip kings of their armor, to open doors before him so that gates will not be shut." A fascinating fulfillment of Bible prophecy, but also a testament of one of the first human rights bills we have in history. Cyrus came on the scene and recognized the equality and brotherhood of man, that every human being deserves to have certain rights, that they deserve to have their own lives and their own livelihood, and that they deserve to have freedom of religion and choose whom and how they will worship. So here you have the Cyrus Cylinder, a prolific document and archaeological find. But if you want to return back the same way we came, down to the most controversial artifact in this museum, we're going to go find out why and the story that it tells itself. Follow me.